Godzilla and Kaijus. What does this have to do with today's video? Well, today I will be ranking literally every version and every Kaiju in the Godzilla franchise. Dear God, we're in a long one, and this might be split up into parts, but I'm going to start from the bottom to the up. So, without further ado, let's go with the first tier we'll be discussing is the worst of the worst. I don't need to explain what I mean by the worst of the worst, but it just means it's bad, like badder than bad. So anyways, let's jump in with the first kaiju on this tier. We have the Gigan Miles from the short film Godzilla vs. Gigan Rex, released in 2022. Now, you might be saying, minus out of your mind, the Gigan Miles design is so good. Now, this is a tier list based off my opinions, firstly. Secondly, the Miles just doesn't feel like Gigan. The body is way too chunky, the tail's too thick, and the limbs are too thin. The head feels off, and I don't know how to explain what the head feels like to me. Now, I know that it's a hot take, but the Gigan Miles is the bottom of the list for me. It just doesn't capture the essence of Gigan. Now, you can like Gigan Miles, but he remains at the bottom of the list. Now, moving on, we have Doug, and oh no, the Doug fans, they're gonna rip me apart. Anyways, overall, Doug's a pretty bad design. It's essentially just a big, tubby, horribly designed Godzilla. Godzilla if he was designed by a toddler, essentially. Now, I don't see what's so good about him. Anyways, I've never have. A lot of people mature people that I know are starting to realize that he's not that good of a design or a kaiju. I don't personally consider him a kaiju, but since he's technically a Godzilla kaiju, I have to include him on the list. But yeah, his design's not the best. Well, that's why he's so far down. But yeah, that's Doug. Moving on. The upgraded Gigan from Final Wars. Now, I'm also probably going to get a lot of hate for this placement, but I just prefer the upgraded Gigan. And plus it doesn't matter. It doesn't help that the way he was handled in this form of Gigan was handled in the movie was complete fodder. Tisk. But the way he's just overconfident of the design also doesn't fit well with me. The blades are too small. In my opinion, he's way too thin. The neck doesn't feel like it's armored enough. And for a redesign supposed to be epic, he simply does not hit that mark. So yeah, this is where Gigan places. Moving on. We have Mecha Godzilla from Godzilla vs. Kong, and oh god. If I have a feeling how the rest of this video is gonna go, I'm going to get doxxed. Anyways, so why is Mechagodzilla 21 so low on this list? So, for many reasons. He does not feel like Mechagodzilla. He does not fit into the lore, the MonsterVerse at all. He was rushed too soon. The writing was horrible. And he looks more like something that would come out of Transformers than anything Godzilla related. Yeah, and he just doesn't feel like he belongs as a Mechagodzilla. Like, I could see this being a better Transformer design than a Mechagodzilla design. Plus, he doesn't really fit in the story at all. He just exists to get Godzilla and Kong to work together. So yeah, that's Mechagodzilla. Moving on, we have literally any of the old Pipeworks designs. and they're only because of how they're cheesy but low quality. But since they're just really old looking, now I love the Pipeworks games. It's just the graphics haven't aged well. That's why they're this low in the list. Look at Titanosaurus and Biollante and Orga. Even the Heisei design for Godzilla. So yeah, next we have Showa Rodan. And he's just too fugly. He's too fugly, that's all. And the way his snout bends over, it's just really awkward to look at. And he's just not pleasant to the eye, in my opinion. This goes for just about all of the Showa Rodan suits. They're not really pleasing to the eye. Now we have Heisei Mothra. She feels the least realistic out of all of the Mothras. The wing flapping and the larva moving features did not look as good. It's like the Showa Mothra or the later Mothras. And she's fuzzy, which is fine, because some moths in nature are fuzzy. She's just... the effects aren't good for her. Moving on, we have Scylla from Godzilla X Kong The New Empire. She's too brown, and she's way too different from her King of the Monsters design. The King of the Monsters designs look cool because it looks like a nice blend of crab and squid. Here she just feels like a literal crab that just happens to have tentacles for her mouth. Not to mention the CGI wasn't great for her, like, at all. And she doesn't really add much to the story either. Similar to Mecha 21, she just exists to die. And that's quite literally what she does. So yeah, there's GXK Mothra. Next we have Biollante. Just ignore the rose Biollante. I'm too lazy to edit anything about. But yeah, it's Beast from Biollante. She's too big in the and she doesn't really feel like a plant at this point. She feels more like a dinosaur. This has some nice vining effect, but she really just doesn't feel like a plant anymore. So yeah. Next we have Imago Batra. Same with the Mothra. He doesn't feel as realistic, and the wings aren't as good. His effects aren't that good either. His words alright, and yeah, he's slightly better than Mothra. So yeah, that's why he's higher on the list. Yeah, his effects turned out a bit better than Mothra. So next up we have Behemoth. Literally adds nothing to the story. He's alright, just a giant sloth with tusks. Nothing really cool there. That's why he's pretty low on the list. He just exists about and get bullied by Amulek. So next we have the Frostvark, which it's literally just insert reptile with mammal features for the 400th time in a row. He doesn't look cool. Like, the idea of a mole kaiju is really cool, but the way they executed it was not really cool at all. Like, you'd think he would have fur and stuff to keep him warm, but instead he has, like, spikes and he looks more reptilian than anything. Which doesn't make sense for the environment he lives in. And, the concept is cool. The execution was not, however. So, yeah, that's the Frostvark. The exact same show, we have the Ion Dragon. Now, the Ion Dragon's really cool. He's a better Rodan. He's a better Mothra, a better Muto. No. The Ion Dragon is the literal definition of the most bland kaiju design you could ever think of. It's literally just a dragon. Hence the name Ion Dragon. But it's genuinely just a dragon. They're just oversized, kaiju sized. There's nothing unique about him. He's just like your standard run-of-the-mill dragon. Now, you can like him, but to me, he's literally the definition of a bland kaiju. He doesn't really have any abilities other than spitting his, like, ion spit or whatever it's called. That, like, preserves stuff. Not useful in a fight. Like, at all. He literally is built up. His fight with Godzilla is built up and literally just gets thrown around. But yeah, he's literally boring. He's just boring. Very. So yeah, that's the Ion Dragon. The most blamed kaiju in the world. So, yippee, 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 yippee. I'm going to get mauled to death for some of these rankings, but that's alright, because it's probably just going to be the MV goons or Monstrous goons. I don't like that. I don't like most of the designs. I'm looking at you, Crimson Gojira. Get off the edits and actually make content. So yeah, there's that. Hurts a lot more. Any of the kaijus besides Godzilla and the Hanna-Barbera series could go on this list. Some of them are very unique, don't get me wrong, but they're pretty boring and goofy looking. I love them for nostalgic reasons, but looking at this with a serious look at the designs, they can't make it out of the bottom list, which is very sad because I grew up on this show. So it's very hard. Next up, we have the Evazilla Unit 1 Godzilla Shin Evangelion Gojira. It's just disgusting to look at. It's not even cool. Its designs all over the place. Which, I guess that's what you get when you have the forbidden love child of Shin Godzilla and Eva 01. Yeah, it's just the design just not as cool as like when we got the first figures of it. Seeing it animated just really looks off. Not to mention we can have the Angel Ghidorah that appears in this little animation as well, since it's literally just hits the Ghidorah with an angel spear in his chest, and that's boring as hell. Could have done something more unique with him. Yeah, him and the Shin Eva Unit 1 Thingy-Bob are bottom tier. Because it's Eva Ghidorah Angel Ghidorah is boring as hell. It's just Heisei with spear. And the Eva Unit Zilla Thingamabob G-Awakening version is just all over the place. It's just, I guess it's just that design doesn't really work outside of like promotional figures. So next we have Kaiser Ghidorah. And before I get comments saying it's only because he's quadrupedal, I love Des Ghidorah and he's quadrupedal. It's because his wings are practically useless, his tail's non-existent, and he just gets bullied. Like, after Godzilla gets his amp, he just gets straight up bullied, which is alright. But yeah, he's just not a cool Ghidorah. That's basically just to sum it up. Now, right next after him, we have his first form, Monster X, which is a huge step up from which is a huge grade up from Kaiser Ghidorah. But he feels like he's too humanoid. Yeah, and he's too humanoid, looks nothing like Ghidorah, which you would think if it's something that turns into Ghidorah, you would want it to at least look somewhat like Ghidorah. The 3 heads don't count. Like some, like, underdeveloped wings, something like that, and have a more, like a, I'm okay with, I just wish Kaiser Ghidorah was designed a little bit like Monster X, so at least you could like, oh yeah, this guy turns into him. Which is not the case. Alistair the Wendigo's gonna fucking kill me for that, this ranking. Next up, we have literally any of the chibi Godzilla designs that aren't Mecha Godzilla, and the Heisei Godzilla. I mean, looking at this clip, it explains itself. Like, I have. Next up, we have Tiamat. And oh god, I'm gonna get jumped again. Tiamat is literally Mitsu. I probably butchered that name, from Monster Hunter and Manda's Forbidden Love Child. Her design is literally chaotic. There's too much going on with her design. It's too chaotic, especially the way the comic looks. She's just overly complicated in terms of her design, which is not good, like, at all for a kaiju. Like, there's too much going on at once, and that tends to lead to a not as good of a kaiju design, in my opinion. Overly detailing and overly complicating stuff. Not to mention, she's pretty bland as well. She's just your standard sea dragon monster, which doesn't help her case, like, at all. Not even close to helping her case. Yeah. Wasted potential, but not that good of a design at all. So yeah, Tiamat is down here, where she can join Skila at the bottom of the list. I guess you could put their comic designers here. Well, I'm just using them. ¡Profe! ¡Había on live action. Now I'm gonna really get jumped for this. But Shimo. Was all hyped up to be like this colossal threat. A, she's like just a big puppy. And B, she's not intimidating at all.
I will burn this planet down before I spend another minute living among these animals.
Some of the concepts looked way better than this hot take. She really is just there to be there. Same with Godzilla and all the other stuff. Like, you can tell this was originally just supposed to be Kong Scar's thing. But she's only there to help because Godzilla's there, and to help Godzilla, to have Godzilla fight someone. And she's just, her design just doesn't feel like intimidating, like they were wanting her to be like this big threat. Not to mention her, like, the way she looks, she's like a big puppy. She's literally just a big puppy at the end. Of course she really doesn't do much other than just do what Scar says and just beats up Kong. She gets bullied around by Godzilla a lot, and even Mothra. So yeah. Wasted, overhyped, and basically some of it. So yeah, Shimo belongs with all the other GXK Kaiju so far on the bottom of the list. Next up, we have Final Wars Kumonga. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna probably have the same complaints as some other guy that I watched a video on that inspired me to make these videos. Final Wars Kumonga stands out because it looks too plasticky, like it looks too smooth, and so she stands out among the scenery. That to mention, whenever she jumps, she really just, her legs curl up like she's dead. And the way they make her move does not look as realistic as the Showa Kumonga, which is done way better than Final Wars Kumonga. Like, even when Godzilla's throwing her, she doesn't really, like, struggle to anything like if they did, like, if they were actually trying to make it look alive. So, yeah. Smooth, too fake. Not awesome sauce at all. Next up, we have Kamacuras from Final Wars. Kind of the similar complaints for him as Kumonga. He looks too smooth, but he's a bit better about not looking as smooth because he has the puppet /suit has a little bit more detail. So yeah, he has that going for him, but the way they animate and puppet him and the CGI, he just doesn't look as realistic as the Showa Kamacuras design. And not to mention the way he, not cool, he did have some cool, like a cool scene, like where he, like, hides from Godzilla. Though, not really hide, because Godzilla literally knew he was in the bush. But it looks like he has a camouflage ability, which is neat. But again, just too smooth looking. He stands out against Godzilla for not looking as good with the scenery. Next up, we have Final Wars Hedorah. Literally looks nothing like Hedorah. It's a weird, horrible redesign. The smog monster did not deserve to get this design treatment, bro. It's nice. The suit's nice. The detail, it looks okay. It matches the scenery nice. It's just, the way they designed Hedorah was not good. Next up, we have Final Wars Rodan. A lot of Final Wars Kaijus at the bottom of the list. He's too humanoid for Rodan. Like, if you take away his wings, he's literally just a giant human with a pteranodon head. Not to mention, his wing flapping is alright for, like, when it's... I don't think they ever used the suit for the flapping. When they did, his wings don't even flap. So there's that. Not to mention, he's not as detailed, so he stands out. Next, and along with him, we have Anguirus from Final Wars. The snout's too thin, too long. He's... the shade of blue just looks off to me. The way he has way too thin for limbs, especially for his little tubby body, just makes him stand out a little bit more, being disproportional and all. Now, he blends in with the scene really nicely. Like, I could honestly say he's there. See, he's there, and unlike Kamakiris and Kumonga, he doesn't look fake. The suit looks really nice. It's just his snout, and even when he opens his mouth, it looks worse because it looks way too thin. Final Wars Godzilla suffers from the same issue. His limbs are way too thin for the long, thick tail he has and the slender body. Or not slender body, little chubby body that he has. Now, his little spike rollerball thing was really cool. I'm glad they finally gave Anguirus that ability. But yeah. Along with another Final Wars Kaiju, we have King Caesar, who is way too humanoid. The suit is not good at all. He feels too smooth. And it's just a huge downgrade from his Showa design, which was amazing. And I really love his Showa design. And this just feels like a big downgrade from that. Now, he has some cool combat stuff with Godzilla, but that's basically it in playing soccer with Anguirus. He just doesn't fit with the scene, and he stands out against Godzilla a lot more. Okay, so, this is a lot of stuff, and this is all I had for the bottom tier. My phone can't handle like an hour worth of recording, so I'm going to break this up into parts. This is part 1, the bottom tier. Here's the screenshot of the tier list so far, and I am doing every kaiju, like even like the obscure guys, which surprisingly none of them are in bottom tier. And I want to take a quick minute to thank Dark, a friend of mine, who is an amazing artist. She did, I'm not getting into that. They did thumbnails for Godzilla Guy a while back, and they were kind enough to make a thumbnail for me, and this is going to be the thumbnail for the videos. Just want to give them a shout out. Go follow them on Instagram. I'll link their Instagram in the description. Other than that, this is like the 1K special, so thank y'all so much for 1,000 subscribers. It means a lot to me. And, yeah. Thank y'all so much for watching part 1 of ranking literally every single Godzilla Kaiju ever. This has been the Romanus Goji. I'll see y'all in part 2. Bye-bye.